Good morning. Time to put on a little bit of breakfast, and today I'm going to do something a little special. I'm going to do biscuits and gravy in one pan, the frying pan, over a campfire. So I've got my biscuit mix in here, just to add water stuff, and it's a guess amount, and the same thing with the water, it's a guess amount how much to put in. But I'm going to mix it in the Ziploc. So I'll put a little bit of water in there. Start mixing it in and see what we come up with. Come up with a little bit of a batter. I don't care about lumps. And something that's not dry. A little bit more water in here. Always better too little than too much, because you can't take water out. So yeah, let's see how we're doing here. It's beginning to look pretty good. Might be a little bit too much water in there, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. I think it'll do though. Still see a little bit of white down in the bottom. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but that tells me there's some that needs to be mixed more. And take advantage of all of the mix that I can, since I do think I got too much water in here. I've got my fire just about down to coals. There's still a couple of pieces of wood in there, but I think it'll be all right. Now, I'm not going to preheat the pan because we want a baking effect, so I don't want it too hot. And I'm also not going to grease the pan because I would typically grease it with butter, and butter will cause the biscuits to brown before they have the chance to cook through. And I end up with burnt biscuits. Don't want that. So just the pan's own seasoning is all I'm working with. Got my mix mixed, and I'm going to cut off a corner here, and just going to find a spot in the pan and kind of pour out a biscuit. Definitely too much water, but oh well, we'll improvise. Hopefully it'll do all right. Do 3 biscuits here, and you can see they're kind of running together. I think I'm going to end up with one giant biscuit because I did put too much water in here, but let's see what we come up with. And I've got a couple of stones in here too. Not sure if the camera shows that, but I'm going to set it right on those stones. I'm going to set my plate over the top. That'll keep the heat inside. And we'll start baking them. Again, I want to keep the temperature fairly low, so they'll cook more towards the center before they start burning on the outside. So while I'm baking my biscuits, I'm going to put the sausage mix in another Ziploc here. And this, of course, has directions on the back, and it says stir water gradually in, 2 cups of cold water. Now, 2 cups, well, if you've got one of those fancy measuring water bottles, that makes it really easy. I don't, but I'm going to say most of what's in here, what's left in here, is going to be about 2 cups. I may be a little light, but Again, better too little than too much. The good thing about the gravy mix is I can boil it down a little bit, unlike the biscuits. So it's pretty well mixed. And let's take a look at the biscuit. I say biscuit because I think that's what we're going to end up with. And it's still pretty liquidy. What I'm looking for is just when it starts to harden up enough that I can turn it over. I don't want done on one side. I just want it to be able to turn over. So last night was a little better. It was still down in the 30s, but I'm down to about 5,200 feet. It didn't feel as cold as it was up at 7,500. So I also fixed a mistake that I made night before last, and that is I was sleeping on top of the sheepskin, and I had a perfectly good sleeping mat as well that I wasn't using. So last night I put the sleeping mat down, wrapped up, burritoed in my wool blanket, and I put the sheepskin over me, and I kept pretty comfortable. I didn't have the fire close to the tarp just because of where I'm set up. It's not really ideal. I couldn't find a level spot where I could get the fire close to it and get all the clearance I needed. So anyway, last night was better. Still chilly, but I probably got 5-6 hours of sleep, so I'm not complaining. Now it's starting to look a little bit bready. That's what we want. So when I've done this before, I've always managed to keep it from turning into one big biscuit. I don't generally put too much water, but I screwed up this time. So our biscuit's going to be a little bit ugly, but there we go. You can see on this first one, it's just very lightly browned. It's just starting to be bready instead of doughy on that side, and that's what you want. You don't want it all the way cooked that first turn. So put that back on here, plate back over it. This is probably going to be the ugliest biscuits and gravy you ever saw, but it should taste good. Now, let's see how we're doing here. Still good and doughy. You can't really put a time to how long it'll take to cook this way. It just all depends on how hot the fire is, how big the frying pan is, whether you screw up and put too much water in. So directions on the biscuit mix don't really mean much, other than you do want it a little bit thicker than what I had so you can squeeze it out into individual biscuits. I usually get about 3 biscuits in this pan, and normal dinner roll size biscuits, and that works out fine. And I think we're ready to turn it one more time here. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, so you can see it's just, again, lightly browned on the other side now. Put the top back over it. Now let's see how we're doing here. Still a little while to go. I want to get it to start actually browning on that other side. Like I said, I pretty much screwed up these biscuits so they're no longer biscuits, but it's bread that's going to go with the gravy. It'll be good. That's pretty well browned. I really don't want to cook it much more. I'm afraid it's going to end up burning, and I don't like burnt biscuits. So now I'm going to put it in my plate. And I can get this going a little hotter here, make a little air space underneath it. And then I'm just going to take the gravy mix here and pour it into the saucepan. And hopefully I can get that to come to a boil pretty quick. I had to start a new garbage bag here. So I've got the biscuits covered up to keep them warm. It's not really going to matter when I put the gravy over them. That'll heat them up. Got the gravy going. Little tiny bit of flame under there. May blow on it a little more, try and get some more heat until I get it up to a boil. And once it's boiling, I'll stir it and we'll try and get that boiled down a little bit and throw it over the biscuits, and we'll be good to go. Okay, our gravy boiled and started stirring it and started thickening right up. And you can see it's getting nice and thick. If you don't like lumpy gravy, don't have me cook it. I think we're pretty good on the gravy. I'll take it out here and what did that say? Let it sit for a minute. Thicken up. Pretty thick now, but I'll let it sit. And one thing about gravy, I'm sure anybody who likes gravy already knows this, but for anybody who hasn't tried this or doesn't normally eat gravy, don't let this stuff dry in the pan. It turns to concrete. You'll never get it out. All right, yeah, we'll let this sit for a minute. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Just gonna take that nice thick gravy. I'll put it all over our biscuits, pieces of biscuits. Processed biscuits, how's that? We like processed biscuits. All right, maybe not. And then, like I said, you don't want to let this stuff dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it back on the fire and take a little bit of water, and I'm going to fill the pan up with water. Fill it up with a little more water. There we go. And I'm just going to let it sit there and heat the water. Should be fine while I eat my breakfast. Then I'll come back to it. So there you have it. One pan fry pan biscuits and gravy. And I think that's going to just about do it. Oh yeah, that's good. The gravy mix is probably a little saltier than I would make if I made it from scratch, but it was cheap and easy and worked out really well. Those are really good biscuits and gravy. Cheers. Okay, we're all packed up and ready to go. As I mentioned, this trip I added a sheepskin to my kit for warmth. This is something I'll probably have with me through the rest of the winter till it starts warming up again in the spring. So I was looking for the best way to carry it. Really struggled with this. When I got to my campsite day before yesterday, everything was still there, but it was bulky. It just wasn't how I like to carry my gear. And when I left the campsite yesterday morning, I still wasn't happy with it. It just looked funky to me. It looked like, it just didn't look good to me. That's my thing. So when I got here this time, I really thought it out. I organized some things a little different, and I've repacked, and I think I found a winner. I've still got my bedroll on the bars. I moved my gear pack, and I usually use a canvas duffel, but I've got this leather pack I tried for this trip, and I hadn't put it on before because I didn't like the way it looked, but it seems to be working out pretty well. And then I've got my sheepskin just on the back seat here, and that worked out great. So I'm happy with it, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. I want to thank all of you for watching my videos. It means a lot to me. If you have any questions, of course, put your questions down in the comments section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have about the food that I bring along, how I do things, what's in my kit, where I got it, anything. Ask me questions and I'll do my best to answer either directly or in one of my next videos. If you liked the video, please hit the little thumbs up. Please share the video. Share it across Facebook or any of the social media platforms. I really appreciate it. It introduces new people to my channel, and that's important to me. And if you enjoyed the video and you're not already a subscriber, please hit subscribe. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Let's take a ride, just you and I, somewhere we've never been. We'll get up and rise, loosen the ties, and all we've been holding in. Right now I'm gone, but I'll be back again. Right now I'm gone, but I'll be back again. I'll be back again before too long. We can sit a while and I'll sing some songs about where we're going, not where we've been. We can do it all and I'm back again. Let's take a ride, just you and I, somewhere we can have some peace. We'll get up and go, the peace will come slow, so much that we'll never leave. Right now I'm gone, but I'll be back again. Right now I'm gone, but I'll be back again. I'll be back again before too long. We can sit a while and I'll sing some songs about where we're going, not where we've been. We can do it all and I'm back again.